everybody. Thanks for joining us online today. We're so happy to have you. If you would like to get connected or learn more about us, you can go to thevenues.org/connect and fill out a welcome card and somebody will reach out to you. You can also submit a prayer request there if you have any. Also, download our Church Center app if you don't have it to stay up to date with all of the things that we're doing, or you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Or if that's where you're watching us right now, you can learn more about us on our website, thevenues.org.
Through you the blind will see, through you the mute will sing, through you the dead will raise, through you all hearts will praise, through you the darkness flees, through you my heart screams, I am free. I am free to run. I am free to run. I am free to dance. I am free to dance. I am free to live for you. I am free to live for you. I am free. I am free. I am free. I am free. Through you the kingdom comes, through you the battle's won, through you I'm not afraid, through you the price is paid, through you there's victory, because of you my heart screams, I am free. I am free to run. I am free to run. I am free to dance. I face in every sunrise. The colors of the morning are inside your eyes. The world awakens in the light of the day. I look up to the sky and say, you're beautiful. Oh, oh, oh. See your power in the moon at night, where planets are in motion and galaxies are bright. We are amazed in the light of the stars. It's all proclaiming who you are. You're beautiful. Oh, 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 I see your face in the immigrant's eyes. We're called to love our neighbors no matter the price. We'll be accepting of our brothers in need. We will lift them up and sing, you're beautiful. Oh, oh, you're beautiful.
Hey Kids Venue, I have some super exciting news. On November 15th at 9:30 a.m., we are reopening Kids Venue. Birth through 5th grade are welcome to join us. We are going to have some increased safety measures to make sure that everyone is super safe while we gather together. Masking will be required for anyone 4 years old and up. We will be working extra hard to make sure that hands and surfaces are sanitized throughout the entire time. We will have individually prepackaged crafts and a reduced number of shared touch items to make sure that we're not mixing too many things or germs. We will not be serving a snack. We will be encouraging social distancing, but we're also going to keep in mind the developmental and socio-emotional needs of kids. So we'll be playing together best we can while keeping some space. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have missed everyone so much, and I am really excited to have you guys back in Kids Venue, seeing the new space and having fun connecting once again. I love you all, and I can't wait to see you.
Hey friends, my name is Cheyenne Park and I do all things the venues at 425. If you don't know what that is, on Thursday nights at 6:30 p.m., we're gathering at our downtown location located at 425 West Walnut. And we get together, we have a bar where you can purchase adult beverages, or there's soda and water there for free. And we have live music playing and we all just kind of unwind together. There's a short message at the end. It's just our time to connect with one another. So we are doing that in person right now. We are requiring masks and social distancing, or you can watch us online on our Facebook page or on our website. So hope to see you soon. The Venues is still working tirelessly to meet the needs of people all over our community. If you like what we're doing and you want to support us, you can get on our website at thevenues.org/give and you can sign up for recurring donations, or you can mail in a check, or you can come by and drop one off in person. We have a mailbox right outside the front doors that you can slide it in, and it's locked, so it'll be safe. Thanks for all you give.
So this morning we are celebrating sacrifice. That's the theme of our message. And in connection with that theme, I'm wearing my Eden Village hoodie today. And the band is going to play for you the song Hands and Feet. This is a most appropriate centering song for us as we try to prepare our mind, our heart, our spirit for a place where we can be open to how God is speaking to us and calling us to be a living sacrifice by being God's hands and God's feet.
For the strides we've made, for all our blessings, we've fallen far away from truth, turning our face away from this hurting race. We've turned our face away from you. We want to be your hands, your feet. Without words, we'll let our actions speak. For every broken heart, for every widow, for those without shelter from the rain, we lift our eyes to you, looking for answers. When we our words, we'll let our actions speak.
Good morning again, beautiful people, and welcome to The Message. We're in this series called Are You Ready for a Holiday? And each week we've been looking at holidays and using them as a way to springboard into the message. This week we are going to talk about celebrating sacrifice by celebrating Veterans Day. And I want to encourage you from the very beginning, grab something, because as part of this message, we're going to do communion together, me and you and all of your friends out there watching. It doesn't have to be anything particular, just something to eat and something to drink. As Christ used the things that were available to him, we'll do the same this morning. Now, back to Veterans Day. The history of Veterans Day, in case you don't know that much about it, there was an act approved May 13th, 1938, that made November 11th in each year a legal holiday, and it was a day to be dedicated to the cause of world peace known as Armistice Day. This celebration of peace and Armistice Day came out of World War I, which was thought to be the war to end all wars. It didn't quite work out that way, though. And in 1954, after World War II and after American forces had responded to conflict in Korea, Congress amended that original act, striking out armistice and inserting the word veterans. So, November 11th of each year became the day to honor all American veterans. And I want to make sure that we take time this morning as we celebrate Veterans Day to say thank you to people who have sacrificed and people who have served. Serving in this way takes a serious toll on people. We've asked a lot of people, especially young people, in times of conflict and in times of peace. As we celebrate Veterans Day, I want to say thank you to all of my friends and family who have served, and I want to use it as an opportunity to say a special thanks to one member of my family who's no longer here. My Aunt Nan Philibert. My Aunt Nan was my mom's youngest sister, and she was an incredible lady. She was brilliant, skipped a grade in elementary school. This is back in the 60s, because I think she was just bored and was accelerating. She was so strong-willed, so opinionated, so articulate, a ravenous reader. I've never known anybody who just consumed words and ideas like Nan. But interestingly, as she was a young woman, she made the decision to enter into the military service. And when I was just a kid, I was 10 years old, my aunt left. And in October of 1982, she joined the military. I missed her dearly for so many reasons, not the least of which was this was the woman who introduced me to Star Wars, and that was our thing. All things Harrison Ford, really, she was into. But she was gone, and because she was so smart, she became a member of the 101st Airborne Division and was an Arabic and Hebrew interpreter in the Middle East for years. She would go on these missions, and we weren't allowed to know where she was. She would just call home to let us know that she was safe. She returned. She left the military after, more than 20 years of service and became an entrepreneur, obtained her doctorate, became a professor at Missouri Southern, and then several years back, it's probably been 5-6 years, she started to notice changes in herself, and she was diagnosed with ALS. Did you know that veterans are twice as likely to be diagnosed with ALS as the general population? In fact, in 2008, the Department of Veterans Affairs implemented regulations that establish a presumption for service connection with ALS. So under these regulations, the VA presumes that ALS was incurred or aggravated by a veteran's service, whether you served in peacetime or in a time of conflict. which was, I have to say, a generous benefit to my aunt and made her life easier in her final years. She has passed away, and I watched this disease eat up this woman and take one of the strongest people I've ever known into a place of near total paralysis. She could only talk to us in her last year of life through retinal texting, where she would look and text. We've asked a lot of people, and a lot of people have given generously. And so today we think about what it means to sacrifice. When I think about sacrifice, especially when I think about Veterans Day, I think about this line from John 15:13, where Jesus says, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." This quote from Jesus is paired really nicely with so many statements that Paul makes in the New Testament in his epistles, particularly this one from Romans chapter 12, verse 1. "Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship." Offering ourselves as a living sacrifice, that is our true and proper worship. So growing up, I saw these statements out of the New Testament as statements that kind of endorsed these measures of dying, literally dying, to give your life for other people. And while I think there's truth in that is a kind of ultimate sacrifice, I think it can also take away the responsibility that we have in daily life, in moments of our lives, to see those moments as opportunities for us to lay down our lives and to be living sacrifices. So I want to go back to that quote of Jesus from John, because that quote is actually taken from a time in which Jesus is eating with his friends. It is the Last Supper, and Jesus is there with his friends, and he is speaking to them. In John chapters 14 and 15, I think are some of the most beautiful prose of all of the Bible. It's just this incredible moment where Christ is pouring himself out for the benefit of his disciples and showing such great love and wisdom in the face of what he knows will be tremendous pain. And if you look at what he's telling them and teaching them, maybe it can draw us deeper into this notion of laying down our life, or what it means to be a living sacrifice. In John chapter 15, verse 12, he says this, "My command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I learned from my Father, I have made known to you." So I want to pause right there, because I want to reflect on and acknowledge that this section that we're reading starts with Jesus giving an instruction that we would love each other as he has loved us, and that we are his friends if we follow that commandment. But he continues in verse 16, saying, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give to you." And then he closes with this same command in this verse, "This is my command. Love each other. Love each other. And so when we go back and we look at the context for the statement that Jesus gives us, that the greatest gift we can offer to someone is to lay down our life, we see that the context of that is love. That in love, we would lay ourselves down. And so I want to encourage you to think about this morning. Maybe part of what we need to see this instruction as is this moment where Jesus is encouraging us to lay ourselves down daily in every moment. Maybe this verse pairs so well with Paul's description of being a living sacrifice and how that is what worship is because when we lay our ego to the side, when we lay ourselves down and surrender ourselves in conversation, in conflict, in times of fear, in times of uncertainty, when we submit and trust that we are laying ourselves down, we are surrendering our ego, surrendering what we want. Maybe we need to see this as an opportunity for us to have a moment of being born again repeatedly throughout the day. That by surrendering ourselves, by presenting ourselves as living sacrifices in our relationships, in our community, in who we are and what we say, we are, as Paul says, engaging in worship. Or as he says in another section of his epistles, praying without ceasing. Maybe that awareness, that mindfulness of bearing good fruit, which is another part of how Jesus describes this in chapter 15 of John. Maybe that's what we're called to do. It's not all about death and dying, although it may be at times. But for most of us, it's about moment to moment, living with mindfulness and generosity and patience and humility. Well, I want to talk to you about another verse that I think sheds some light on this. It's a story, actually, and we're going to go to Matthew chapter 14, verse 16. See, in this part of the gospel, Jesus is among thousands of people, and the disciples are stressed because they don't have food to give all these people. And so they want Jesus to help them out here. And these people need to be told to go get something to eat, and then they can come back and go take care of yourselves, then come back here. But in Matthew chapter 14, verse 16, Jesus says this to the disciples: they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. You do it. The disciples say, we have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Well, Jesus says, bring them to me. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to the heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. I want to pause right there. Is it possible that Jesus is telling us, when he says, you give them something to eat, they don't need to go away? He's telling the disciples, and through the disciples telling us, you do the work. That's why you're here. I'm here to guide you. You're here to be, as the band played for us today, the hands and feet. I will inspire. I will give guidance. I will give strength. But you got to do the work, man. You've got to be willing to sacrifice, to lay yourself down in different ways to make sure that your brothers and sisters are taken care of. They don't need to go away. You give them something to eat. And then he tells the disciples to do something interesting. He says, okay, bring me what you got. And maybe we also need to be thoughtful about what maybe that means. Maybe, just maybe, Jesus is saying, okay, I'll tell you what, you're going to have to do the work. But come to me, give me what you have, even if it's not a lot. And this isn't just about financial stewardship. In fact, I think it's not about financial stewardship. Bring me what you have in spirit. Bring me what you have to offer, to give. And if you're open to me, I will fill you. But then you have to go give it away. That's what it's for. It's not to keep. It's to share. Moving on in that section of Matthew, it says, then he gave them to the disciples. This is the loaves and fish. And the disciples gave them to the people. So through Jesus, we are enabled and we have to give it away. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up the 12 baskets of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Is this, as we talked about last week, I'm going to link these recent messages together. Are you ready for this? We talked about last week how Jesus tells us in Matthew, after John establishes that he's the light, Jesus turns around. In Matthew, he says, no, you're the light. John describes Jesus as the light of the world, and Jesus says, you're the light. You're the light on the top of the hill. You go and shine your light. And here Jesus says, all right, bring me what you got, but you got to go do the work. Maybe. Jesus wants the disciples to be engaged in the process of sacrifice and in sharing. And maybe while he's there, part of what happens is that he inspires other people outside of that circle to do that. And that contributes to this sharing. It's interesting, they end up with 12 loaves that were left over. A lot of people will say that that is a relationship to the 12 tribes of Israel, and the number 5, or the number 5,000, is aligned with the 5 books of the original Torah. I find that all very interesting. But the meat of this is in this idea that we show great love by laying down ourselves, by sacrificing in ways big and small. And it's interesting to me that this description, this commentary, comes out of a time in which they're eating. Jesus is so awesome. He's always using opportunities for like food and drink, the party, the dinner, the lunch, to bring people in and talk to them, to get them to feel comfortable, to make space for everybody. That's what gets him in trouble. It's part of what gets him in trouble, at least. He's inviting all these people in to the conversation to be part of it without judgment. And it happens around food. Food is such an important part of our lives. It's an important part of culture. It says something about who we are. It says something about where we've been, what we've been through. And communion for us as people of faith represents that very thing. It always kind of weirded me out when I was a kid that we were eating of the body or drinking of the blood. I really don't think about it, certainly not literally that way anymore. I think about it as this opportunity where Jesus took what was available to him and said, be mindful when you're in the presence of the creation that gives you nourishment, that I do the same for the Spirit. When you think about the role that food has played in culture, one of the things that I think about is fry bread. If you don't know what fry bread is, it originated about 145 years ago. One of the explanations for how fry bread became a thing in the Native American population relates to when the United States forced Native Americans living in Arizona to make a 300-mile journey known as the Long Walk to relocate in New Mexico, and on land that really couldn't support the staples of their diet. vegetables and beans. So to prevent indigenous people from starving, the government gave them canned goods and things like white flour, processed sugar, and lard. Those things they used to make fry bread. Now, fry bread has some controversy with it because, quite frankly, there's nothing healthy about it. It'd be like making funnel cake a staple of your diet. Some people will say that it has been a major contributor to obesity and diabetes and poor health conditions within indigenous populations within the United States. I think that's a fair criticism. There may be something to that, but indigenous people in large part continue to use this food to connect themselves to their history, the shared experience of adversity, of persecution, the story of survival, of perseverance. And so fry bread continues to be a thing that connects the Native American community. Did you ever watch the show by Anthony Bourdain called Parts Unknown? This was a show where he would go around the world and eat with people in different countries, all kinds of places, from desolate places in Africa to Iran. He felt like he could learn something about people, and that around food, people would talk. People would share. That community happens. That family happens. That shared experiences come out of these places for us. Bourdain said, "The history of the world is on your plate. Every plate of food is an expression of often a long struggle, a long story, and I guess that's one of the satisfactions and joys of traveling and eating, is you find out who is cooking and why and where these things come from." Well, for us, communion comes out of this story of the Last Supper, the generosity and the sacrifice and the example of love that Christ sets for us and then calls us to walk, asks us to follow his command, to do the work, and to be the living Christ, laying ourselves down every chance we get. So if you have your food, I'm going to use tea this morning, and I'm going to use what I think is an expired Cliff Bar that I found in like our storage area. I think it's probably safe. We'll see. I want to welcome us into this space with a reading from Iona Abbey, which is located on the island of Iona, just off, the west coast of Scotland, one of the oldest Christian religious centers in Western Europe. This invitation comes from that space, and if you'd like to, you're welcome to bow your head or just pray with me in contemplation of our taking, which we'll do here in just a minute, of communion. Through our choices and behavior at the table, we name and identify ourselves. The table of bread and wine is now to be made ready. It is the table of company of Jesus and all who love him. It is the table of sharing with the poor of the world, with whom Jesus identified himself. It is the table of communion with the earth in which Christ became incarnate. So come to this table, you who have much faith, and you who would like to have more. You who have been here often, and you who have not been here for a long time. You who have tried to follow Jesus, and you who have failed. Come. It is Christ who invites us to meet him here. This is an opportunity for an expression of community, and everyone is welcome. It is a synthesis of the meeting of humankind and God and creation. And so God, through Christ, took this and said, when you eat, remember me. And Christ took wine, saying the same. When you do this, be mindful, be aware of my presence. Took me a little bit to get that Cliff Bar down. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. I did that for you guys. So, that's our message for this week. Think about how you can do that, how you can practice that. Your practice of prayer without ceasing by laying yourself down every moment you get. I hope you have a beautiful Sunday. I look forward to seeing all of you soon. And I want to encourage you, as always, to be good to yourselves and to be good to each other.